Good day, dear learner. I'm Mrs. Kruger, and today we are going to discuss how to be successful in answering the blog question. Now remember that is part of your writing pieces for the transactional section that you need to answer. Remember that this is the second video in the series of the transactional writing, so please ensure that you have a look at all the videos, because remember, you will have to choose 2 transactionals to complete your exam. Right, let's go. When you hear the word blog, what do you think? A blog is a dynamic piece of writing, and it dives into the feelings that you experience during the day. It's very much like a diary entry, which we do not ask you anymore. We now do it in the form of a blog. And what a blog does is it showcases these thoughts and feelings of the writer. The writing will often be directed at your peers, and the questions that we ask you or the topic that we give you will be relevant to your age group. Remember to read the topic very carefully to ensure that you answer it fully. We will work through the paper in the upcoming videos, so please ensure that you watch this space for more videos. Now, transactional pieces are introduced into our curriculum because we actually use them in our daily lives. So why is it important to know how to blog? Well, firstly, very often it is a platform where communities or schools can come together to promote collaboration. Secondly, and we saw this during COVID, that it is definitely a link between you and the school. Thirdly, continuous writing, which I really encourage you to do, not only improves your writing skills, but it ensures that you learn digital skills, which of course will help you with any future job. The other big reason people start blogs is to write about something they are passionate about, and most often are good too. Together with this is the idea that it is a diary where you raise your opinion on certain matters. You also become a digital citizen who is able to stay up to date with current trends. The nice thing about blogging is that you get an honest response about your writing, and that makes it very authentic. You are, as with anything that you do online, please remember that you're on the internet. So whether you're writing this in the class as an assessment, or whether your teacher allows you to actually create a blog, which I think is fantastic, remember that this specific piece can sometimes get you into hot water. So we'll go through what should we do, what should we not do. Now lastly, what is lovely about any sort of writing is that it develops both your creative and your critical thinking. Now, what do you need to remember when we write a paper version of a blog? Well, like I said, a blog is like a diary. That means you have to treat it like a diary to convey your thoughts, maybe your ideas or your opinions. Now, the difference between a diary and a blog is that a blog is online, and normally, depending on the settings, remember that most people can view this in real life. So be careful, because whatever you say could also be shared across social networks. Now, why do I mention this? In the previous slide, I mentioned that you need to be careful what you write about. As with all writing pieces, remember that there is a list of concepts that we avoid if possible, like writing about something political, religious, sexual, or gory. These concepts will afford you a very low content mark. Now, because transactionals are easy to remember and easy to practice, you want to score here with these marks. So avoid the taboo concepts and you can score quite well on the topic front. Follow the layout of the blog very strictly, and I'll show you in the next slide exactly what to do. Add appropriate content that fits with the answer and actually answers the question that your examiner or your teacher has asked you. Remember to choose the name of your blog site. Mine's going to be Mrs. K's Specials. Secondly, choose a title for the page that you're posting. Now remember, it has to link with the content that you're writing about. For today's exercise, I'm going to call my page Fudgy Goodness Recipe. Let's talk about the layout. You need to write down the title of your blog site at the top of your page. Here I've used Mrs. K's Specials. That is what my blog is called. Then you need to choose the title of the entry that you are writing. Remember, this would be the answer to the question. Now where do I place this? It has to be at the top left side of the page. Remember to underline this as it is a title. Mine is called My Fudgy Goodness Recipe because I just love cooking. Now, you need to date your piece. So write the date below the title of your page and preferably, if you remember, add the timestamp. Here I've said February 28th, 2022, and because I'm up late, it would have been at night, like 10 o'clock. You need to also give me some other add-ons. You can write a comment tab and draw a block around it. You can even add something like a previous log and add that hyperlink block around it. Now remember, these two are optional and you won't lose marks for not having them, but they can add to the content mark, so why not have them there? Now you need to write what you did that specific day and express the details by using your senses, emotive language, and also just be honest. It makes for great reading and people enjoy following along with something that seems authentic, that seems real. If you can be witty, that is a bonus to your blog, and of course it will give you extra depth to your piece, and this ensures good content marks. Now here are some hints. You need to write in past tense. This is, after all, a recall of something that you did during the day that has already passed. Don't hold back is my second hint. Give us the full extent of the emotions. The more emotions you add, the more real you are, the more your audience is drawn into your piece. Remember to write in paragraphs and allow each one of your paragraphs to have its own idea, yet link back to the previous paragraph so that there is flow. Now in your rubric, you'll notice we use the word coherency. Coherency just means that even though I have separate ideas and separate paragraphs, they all link back to the main idea of what I'm writing about. And of course, they flow. Remember to use full sentences. Now, what is a full sentence? Well, it contains a finite verb, like a main verb. The subject starts with a capital letter. And of course, it ends with a suitable punctuation mark. Try to avoid abbreviations as well, and any sort of WhatsApp, SMS, online language. That means all the I'll, can't, and won'ts must be written out in full. Even the LOLs must be written out in words. Now let's talk about the writing style. Remember, you need to try and be friendly and informal here. You are expressing your emotions. Therefore, you have to write in first person. Now, what does that mean? It means I use words like I, me, us, and we, all those lovely personal pronouns. And we try to include references to your own life and experiences. Remember what I said? To make something authentic, we need to write from our understanding, from what we know, and then of course be a bit creative. Remember that the honest and open views of a novice writer can be just as interesting as an informative expert. Think about your readers and what they can learn from the experience. Remember to try and describe rather than tell. Now, how do we do that? Well, here's an example. Instead of saying you thought a book was great, try to explain why you enjoyed it and what did you learn from it. Try to question your reader and ask for their response to what you have written. And I do encourage all of you to use rhetoric in every single piece that you write. Why? Well, it draws the audience in and of course affords you fantastic content marks. Remember to be polite and respectful of other cultures and other opinions. And also try to make your piece informative without sounding contrived. In other words, that you know everything about the topic. Finally, in the last part of the posting, add the background information and possibly your name if you wish to. Now, let's look at another example. Here I have used the idea of a sunflower, which I think is a fantastic flower. And I've written a background piece discussing the beautiful flower and my experience with them. Now let me show you. The title of my piece is called Sunflower, which I think is pretty basic. You can do better. I've added the date as standard, and then I start off with saying something like, I love everything about sunflowers. Don't you? There's my rhetoric. So I thought it might be a good idea to have an entire page on information regarding sunflowers. Now I give you a brief history. So I tell you what I like, and then I move over to a bit of history here. I first fell in love with sunflowers when I went to visit my uncle's farm in the Free State. I was amazed at how these beautiful, friendly-looking flowers grow wild next to the road in South Africa. I spent that entire summer collecting different types of sunflowers and their seeds. And now, in the next paragraph, I'm going to get back to the point that I was trying to make. Remember, I have to write about today. So even if I bring in some history, I still need to come back to the current day. Today, and there's my time word, I planted my first row of sunflowers in the sunspot in my garden. I can't wait for them to sprout, grow and bloom within the next 90 days. And there we go. I'll show you the example on the next page of how you can add to your writing should you write an actual blog online. So this slide shows us how I would write it on the paper that you would hand in as an assessment. And the next slide, which I'm not going to read through, is just to show you how you can adapt whatever you've done in class for your online blog. And that's all. That wraps up our blog theory lesson. Remember to check out the how-to videos coming soon. In our next video, we are looking at how to write a fantastic speech on paper. And remember, you can double this up when you're doing your prepared speeches as well. Now, this is Mrs. Kruger, and I will see you soon, sweethearts.